Hello everyone, it is Karina with Karina Loves to Plan. Thank you for joining me in my little corner of the internet where we talk all things planners, fountain pens, and fountain pen inks. And today I had to make the very hard decision to figure out which inks I could not live without. And I think it was supposed to be 10, but subconsciously I think I put 12 places on my piece of paper here because I knew that there were 12 that I could not live without. The thing is, whenever I do these videos, I say that this is time sensitive for now, and this could completely change a year from now based on my taste, but also based on inks that come into the foray within that time span. So let's get started. I will be swatching with my Browse ornament nib. This is in the 3mm size, and this is on just a standard nib holder. And I also have my Kakimori stainless steel nib on a pen holder made by Zodiac Pen Co. And somebody asked me, would these hold the exact same things? And yes, they would. So I can put this probably on here and this on here. So that, actually, I'm going to show you while I have you here. So you could definitely put the Kakimori nib on here, a little tight on there, but it would, no, it wouldn't work. But the Browse ornament nib would go on that and also would go on this. But the Kakimori stainless steel nib works. I actually prefer these rubber inserts for the nibs better than the steel ones. They just seem to work better, but also don't rust as much as these ones do. Okay, let's get started. The first ink I cannot live without is one that I actually hadn't considered, but when I went through all my inks, I was also thinking of if these were the only inks that I could have and this was all that I could work from, I needed to have a lovely green, and that is Colorverse Alpha Pisces. And of course I choose the one that is hard for me to open, but I've had this ink for a few years now, and it is quite the sizable bottle. I've been able to use it on multiple occasions, but also be able to give quite a few friends some samples as well. And what I love about this green is that it's in the more muted side, but it's kind of got that grayish green tone, which I really like. And at first it can come off a little bit light, but I have found that I actually really enjoyed. Is that, oh, that's me just making a mark on the paper. But also what I love about this is that it's such a big bottle, it will last you ages. This is Colorverse Alpha Pisces, and it shades beautifully. It's a lovely green, nothing too in your face. There we go. I know it's not like a typical, I say typical green, like Diamine Meadow or anything like that, but if I had to choose one green, this would be it, and it would be Colorverse Alpha Pisces. The next ink, and actually the next three inks are from this same brand, which I love this brand. If I could have all of my inks from this brand, if I was just starting out completely from the very beginning, I totally would. And one of these is Diamine Celadon Cat. I love this because I do love the lighter blue, and I know some people are very split on this particular ink. Some people find it too light or too dry, but I have found it works very well for me, and I just love the blue shade of it. It's light, again, not too harsh, not too much in your face, and it's got that bluish gray tone to it. I don't know what I was doing with this swirl. But it also comes in a very usable, manageable size. I really like these smaller 30 ml bottles from Diamine. I think they're a lot more, well, I say it's usable, but for me personally and how I use my collection, these are a lot more sustainable sizes of ink bottles. So Celadon Cat. If you're not familiar with this, this was a Reddit ink from a couple of years ago, basically where members of the Reddit community can vote on a new ink that Diamine can create. And Celadon Cat was one of them, and I think it went with Sailor's Warning as well that year. But I just love this. It shades beautifully. It is legible and writes very well. I don't find it too dry, but again, some other people do, so it really depends. So that is Diamine Celadon Cat. The next ink is, of course, a brown ink because I can't go without a brown ink in my collection. It is Diamine Raw Sienna. I had to look through all of my browns actually, and if I had to get rid of them and choose one brown that I absolutely loved, this one would be it. Although, spoiler alert, there may be another brown in the mix later on. But I love that this brown is warm and there's got a little bit of yellow tone to it. It's gonna shade beautifully, but also when you write with it, it actually looks brown. It doesn't look too dark like it's gonna be black. I think I gave a sample of this to my dad. He messaged me sometime last week and said, which ones are your favorite browns? So I brought over 6 different ink samples for him of brown inks, and Raw Sienna was one of them. This is one of my favorite browns because of the fact that in writing it does look brown and it just shades beautifully. Look at that. Gorgeous. Raw Sienna. The next ink is another Diamine ink, and I didn't think I would like this ink as much as I do, but this is Diamine Sepia. There's something about this golden color that I cannot live without. It's got a hint of brown, but also that hint of gold. Sorry, I'm just washing off my Browse ornament nib here. But out of the inks that are similar in tone to this, there was, Teranishi Nostalgic Honey, which is also very similar, and I love that one, but I don't have access to that. I think I have that in a sample. This, though, is a very good substitute in a smaller bottle, but also not as difficult to obtain that Nostalgic Honey is for me. But Sepia is definitely a lot more accessible, and I think with some of these inks anyway, some of these are definitely going to be a lot more accessible than others. So, whoa, Diamine Sepia. If I were to pick an orange gold, this would be it. And I don't normally go for oranges or golds or anything like that, but this one has that hint of brown to it that I also really like. So this is Diamine Sepia. The next ink or brand of inks that I cannot live without was an ink that I purchased from the San Francisco Pen Show, and it sold out not too long after I purchased it. It is Kobe Milk Chocolate. I originally received this as a sample from a friend and then realized that Nagasawa was going to be at the San Francisco Pen Show and went to go see if it was available. And yeah. Just look at that color, that kind of pinky, beigey, pink, brown is stunning. One of my favorite inks, but also I cannot live without this one. If you know me, you know how much I love my dusty, pinky, brown inks, and this definitely fits the bill. This one was definitely an expensive purchase, but worthwhile. I love that kind of soft pink brown, and it just shades wonderfully. Kobe Milk Chocolate, cannot live without this ink. The next is also another Kobe ink that I cannot live without. It is Kobe Strawberry Chocolate. Yes, gorgeous pink ink. Of course I have a pinky ink in here. And I already feel like I have to say this to some of the people who are like, can you really, not live without these? It's not like inks are a necessity. This is just a fun little exercise, and some people did ask to see what inks I cannot live without. I feel like I've received some comments recently in some of my videos where people are like, I don't know what it is. There's this underlying tone of, I do this hobby better than you. But we all are in this hobby, and we all can enjoy our pens and inks the way that we want to. Don't yuck someone's yum. Oh, but isn't that a gorgeous pink? I love this pink, and if I had to choose any of the pinks in my collection, this one would definitely be it, just because I love how light and just cute and fun it is. So that is Kobe Strawberry Chocolate. This next ink I feel like represents this brand of inks, because I couldn't include all of this brand, but I feel like this is a brand of ink that I cannot live without of. And then if I had to choose a blue ink, this would be the blue ink. It is Pilot Iroshizuku Tsukio. Even this surprised me as well. I said to myself, if these are the 12 inks that I had to choose out of my whole collection to keep and get rid of everything else, these would be it. And that was so hard to do because I have a lot of inks and I really like them all. But I feel like this exercise just really helps me to appreciate what I have and not worry too much about what new things are coming out. But Pilot inks are just such great, well-behaved inks. And if you ever want to just stick to one brand of inks, I think Pilot is definitely a great one to stick to. They have beautiful inks that are consistent and wet flowing inks that work well in basically any pen. And if you don't want to complicate your inks with shimmers or chromo shaders or anything like that, then Pilot is definitely the way to go. And for me, Tsukio is the blue that I would choose. If I had to go for a darker blue, this would definitely be it. So this is Pilot Iroshizuku Tsukio. Okay, so there was a last minute change in what I wanted to include here. There was an ink I was going to put in here, and then I'm like, I changed my mind because it was one that I was like kind of half meh on. So the ink that I actually want to include in here is, unfortunately, it may not be an ink that's readily available. It is Ferris Wheel Press Peter Moss. What I love about this ink is the dark foresty green color, or that mossy green, as we're going to get from the name. I found this at my local stationery store a little over a year ago when I thought it was completely sold out. But just look at that beautiful dark mossy green. And I cannot live without this green. Some people will be like, it looks so similar to Colorverse Alpha Pisces, but it's like that analogy in Legally Blonde, where she asks him, what color, what kind are my shoes? And he's just like, black ones. Ferris Wheel Press Peter Moss. And this one just writes beautifully. No issues with flow. And I love how this shades as well. Beautiful. Ferris Wheel Press Peter Moss. I know it's slightly out of order, but that was because of the last minute change. This next ink is a newer ink added to my collection, but I absolutely fell in love with it at first swatch. It is Sailor Manyo Kuri. I love that this one just surprises me. Is it going to be pink? Is it going to be gray, beige, purple? And I love how different it is. Each time it goes down, you're like, I don't know what this is going to come out as. And I love that. Like here, it looks like this beautiful kind of beigey brown, but it's going to shade to this incredible color. Now, unfortunately, the shading doesn't always come out in these smaller writing samples, but when I do my Zentangles or doodles, that's when it really comes out as well. Sailor Manyo Kuri. Gorgeous. See, even in this swatch, there's some hint of pink and purple in there. Love it so much. I will definitely show you that once it's dried. Sailor Manyo Kuri. Another one that I love from Sailor, so much so that I'm finishing the first bottle and actually have a second bottle. It is Sailor Shikiori Kitsune Biori. And there's literally enough drops in here to do my swatch. I love this one because of the chromo shading properties and how, yes, it is a kind of beigey brown ink that you put it next to a curry. They look a little bit similar, but the way that it shades is stunning. It's funny because when I first got this ink a few years ago, I was like, it kind of looks boring. But it's become one of my favorite inks that I cannot live without. I love this light chocolatey brown. And Sailor just does shading, chroma shading inks really well. I feel like this is really saturated because it's at the end of the bottle, but you get the point. Oh, lovely. This next ink, I had to choose actually between a couple because I said to myself, if I wanted to choose a purple ink, do I want it to have shimmer? And yes, I do. So I chose Wearingeul Persephone. This, you can see, look at that shimmer that's in here. And I'm realizing that the previous inks that I have in here don't really have shimmer, but don't worry, the last two inks do have shimmer. And I've made sure to choose the ink brands that I trust their shimmer. Now, Diamine is also another ink brand where I love their shimmer inks, but this is the video for the inks that I cannot live without, and I love this purple with the pink shimmer. It's just stunning. But also Wearingeul do shimmer inks quite well, and I haven't really had issues with their inks, but I love the purple, and then adding that bright pink shimmer in there just makes this ink so fun. Although the story of Persephone is a little sad. That's a lot of ink on there. Wearingeul Persephone, one of my favorite inks, and I mean the inks that are in this video are my favorites because I cannot live without them, but just purple with shimmer. Never thought it would be an ink that I would go for, but lovely. Oh, I cannot wait to show you that once it's dried. So Wearingeul Persephone. And last but not least, of course I had to include this ink. This is Tono & Lim's Winter Sunrise. This was my design, my project with Hatch of Endless Pens, and oh, I didn't agitate this. This was in, basically I say in response, but as part of the Winter Sunrise pen, I wanted to create an ink as well, and I wanted it to reflect my favorites in the fountain pen hobby. So you've got kind of a dusty pink with a bit of purple holographic shimmer in here, and then when it dries it definitely looks more purple, but I love it. Love it. And it just matches my Winter Sunrise pen so well. And I just feel so grateful to have been able to work with Hatch and Tono & Lims on this very cool ink. Winter Sunrise. And I know it's summer right now, but maybe I'll ink this up in June. Look at that. Oh, stunning. All right, let's wait for all of these to dry, and then I will show you. These are the inks that I cannot live without. All right, so the inks have had a chance to dry, so now I can show you Colorverse Alpha PSC. I love the grayish green of this, but there's also hints of like a warmer yellowy tone in there. Really pretty, but also it came in a huge bottle. It'll last me forever. And then Diamine Celadon Cat. I love how there's a bit of chromo shading happening here, a little bit of gray in there too. Just a really beautiful light blue ink. And then we come to Diamine Raw Sienna. Of course, I was going to have a brown ink in this set of inks, and I had to go through actually so many of my browns to pick one that I really like. But what I love about raw sienna is that it actually looks like a brown when you write with it, regardless of nib size, but also it just behaves beautifully. All of the diamine inks are such consistent, I say stable inks that are very relatively well priced, and you can get them in smaller bottles as well. Then we have Diamine Sepia. I didn't think I would need an ink this color in my collection, but I love the golden honey yellowy orange of this. I don't normally go for oranges, but Diamine Sepia is one that I think has just such a beautiful tone, reminds me of Nostalgic Honey from Teranishi, but a lot more readily available in Diamine Sepia. Then we have my two from Kobe. We have Kobe Milk Chocolate and Strawberry Chocolate. Milk Chocolate has a more brown beige tone, whereas Strawberry Chocolate is definitely very pink. Both beautiful inks, and I think one of the reasons why I cannot live without these two is because one, they were a little bit more difficult to get a hold of, but two, they're just such beautiful tones. There's hints of chromo shading happening in both of them, and they're just such beautiful inks, and they work really, really well in my fine, extra fine nibs. Then we have Pilot Iroshizuku Tsukio, which was not an ink that I expected to be in this list, but when I thought about all of the blues in my collection, if I wanted to have one dark blue, this would be it. I don't think I would choose any other one. If I had to keep one blue in my collection, this would certainly be it. There's a little bit of sheening happening here, but not enough for me to get a headache over it. It's also just the right shade of blue that doesn't look black, which I know that Shinkai looks more, it is a blue black and it looks more black than blue, which is not, I'm not a fan of that. I'd rather see the blue of the ink. Then we have the, I guess, surprise or last minute entry, which is Ferris Wheel Press Peter Moss. I realized I love this ink. I currently have this inked in a pen, and I love the green tone of this. It's a little bit more muted. It's not a Diamine Meadow or Pilot Iroshizuku Chiku Rin, but I really love the more muted kind of gray fall tones of this ink. Then we have the chromo shaders and the shimmer inks. Sailor Monyokuri, like look at this. It went down brown and now it looks purple, pink, but then in the writing sample looks more beige. Some people will be like, why do you like this ink? I love it because it surprises me every single time, and it's just so fun to play with this particular ink. And then we have Kitsune Biori. I love this lighter shade of brown, and then depending on which paper you're using, you're going to get different chromo shading effects. It's just such a lovely, lovely ink, to the point where I am on my second bottle of it. Then we have Wearingeul Persephone, the first shimmer ink of the bunch. I love the purple base color of this, and then you add that lovely light, I say lighter purple pinky shimmer. It's just perfection. And then last but not least, my Tono & Limbs Winter Sunrise. You've got the dusty pink base with the purple shimmer. I can't live without this one, and you can see why. The shimmer is just, it behaves really, really well in my fine and extra fine nibs, and I love it because there is that sentimental piece that I helped to design that as well. So there are the 12 inks that I cannot live without. It was only supposed to be 10, and then when I was drawing out the grid for this page, subconsciously, I guess I was looking at 12 inks. And when I look at this, if I had to pare down my collection to just these, I think I would still actually be quite happy. I mean, I think I would probably get bored over time, but these are the inks that I cannot live without. That doesn't necessarily mean I can't try new inks, but these are the ones where if I had to get rid of everything and start over, these would be the ones that I would have. That is of today's date. That can absolutely change over time. Ask me this time next year what this looks like, and we'll see if it actually is the same or completely different. All right, but that is it for me. Thank you all so much for watching. If you have any questions, please let me know down below. If there are any inks that you cannot live without, please let me know as well. All right, thank you all again so much for watching, and have yourselves a great day.